I have a new obsession. See what I did there? It's because we're talking about Obsession today. But no, for real, we're going to be talking about Obsession today. And Obsession is a 2026 horror movie, and everyone is talking about it, so you probably heard of it. Today, I'm just going to be giving my theories and some, hidden messages that I've seen about Obsession and just whatever I think about it. So if you don't want spoilers about the movie Obsession, click off, go watch it, come back here. It's gonna be fun. And if you're new, my name's Max. We do pop culture commentary, and today, obviously, we're commenting about a movie. So if that's your thing, click subscribe. Let's get right into it. So first, a quick rundown of the plot. So basically, it features this guy named Bear, and he is kind of he's a lonely guy. He's kind of just on his own. He works at a music repair shop, and he works with his friend Nikki, who has been his childhood friend. And he says in the beginning of the movie, basically, she's the only one that's always been there for him in his eyes. And so he has this really big crush on her. And so he doesn't have enough courage, I guess, to ask her out or anything, or let her know that he does have a crush on her. So he decides to buy this One Wish willow, which is it's like a stick, and you break it, and then you wish for one thing. You only get one wish. So he wishes for Nikki to have a crush on him. But not only that, he wants her to love him more than anyone in the world. He wants her to be basically obsessed with him. And in his defense, he didn't know that the wish was gonna work when he did it, but it's a fact that he even made the wish in the first place. So it's basically, it spirals out of control from there. So we're gonna be talking about that and just doing a little bit of a dive into the movie, its messages and meanings. So let's get started with that. So first, Bear is obviously an incel. He's an incel. And I say that because he, like I said before, he feels entitled over Nikki. He doesn't even have the strength or courage to even ask her if she likes him, ask her out on a date, anything. And I actually believe that Nikki would have given him a chance if he would have had the courage to ask her out and say, hey, this is how I feel about you. I've been feeling this way for a long time. And I think if he actually did do that, especially when Nikki literally said, do you have a crush on me? Do you like me? She said, now is the time to tell me. And I do think that she would have given him a chance and said, maybe I don't really have a crush on you, but maybe I'll go on a date with you and maybe I'll give you a chance. But he didn't even wait for her to even have that opportunity. He didn't let her have that opportunity. So I guess what I'm trying to get at is that because Bear is an incel, I think that's the main thing that drove him to kind of make this wish. And it's the thing that drove him to be like, okay, Nikki's never going to have a crush on me, no matter what I do. And I'm not going to even try. I'm just going to make this wish, see what happens. So like I said before, in his defense, he doesn't know if the wish is going to work or not. I mean, he probably really thinks that it's not going to work. But the fact that he made the wish shows that he doesn't really have respect for Nikki and her bodily autonomy. He doesn't let her express how she feels, and I don't even think that he necessarily cares how she feels. I think that Bear cares about how Bear feels. And Bear feels lonely, which I think we'll get more into the cat theories that I have, because I have some interesting ones. But that idea is reinforced by Bear losing his cat. So overall, I just feel like he has this entitlement to Nikki, and he has that entitlement, in my opinion, because he has shown her basic, very, very surface level respect. He has done the absolute bare minimum, and now, he feels like he's been nice to her for all these years, and he feels like he deserves something out of it without even, I guess, asking how she feels. He just cares about himself, how he feels about her, and how he thinks that he's been doing some great service to her by just doing the bare minimum, being nice to her and being her friend, when she has put an effort to their relationship as well. And obviously she cares about him and she's been there for him, like he says in the beginning, and shows throughout the movie that she's been there for him throughout the years. And he can't even give her the self-respect to actually ask her how she feels about him. He just feels like, okay, I deserve this because I've done the bare minimum, basically. And he thinks that he's done something great. And then adding to that, we know from the beginning of the movie that Bear's friend Sarah, who also works at the music repair shop, does have a crush on him. We know that from the beginning because Nikki tells Bear, hey, I know that Sarah feels this way about you. How do you feel about her? I say that to say that Bear doesn't have a crush on Sarah at all. He has no interest in her until he can't have her, until Nikki goes crazy because of Bear's wish, and then he no longer really can have Sarah if he wants her. And that's the only time that he is in the car with her, and then Sarah says, you know, I just think you need someone a little bit more chill. And then Bear says, well, maybe someone like you. He doesn't even see Sarah or appreciate her until he realizes what he could have had, which also plays into the incel thing, in my opinion, because people who want what they can't have are normally very insecure people. They're like always wishing after something, which obviously we can see is the case with Bear. But Bear has created this obsessed and crazy version of Nikki himself. He's created it by taking away her ability to choose. So because that's his doing, we can't really feel bad for him in that sense of like, now he doesn't really have a choice but to be there for Nikki. There is this one scene where Bear calls the number on the back of the One Wish Willow, and the guy over the phone basically says, you know, there's nothing we can really do. We can't reverse the wish. We can't do anything about it until you die. When you die, that's when the wish will come to an end and Nikki will be back to herself. But with that, Bear doesn't even ask for the wish to be revoked at first. He doesn't ask for it to be canceled. He just asks, can I just like alter it a little bit? And that just really shows how selfish he is. One more thing about that phone call. It is really weird, and I think a lot of people think it's really weird because the person on the other end of the phone call is just like a random guy, right? And one of the theories that I had that I forgot to talk about is that maybe the reason that it's just some random guy is because maybe he was one of the first people to make a wish with the One Wish Willow, or maybe he just had a really weird wish or something. And I think that he is kind of like needing, like he has to repent for the wish that he made somehow. He has to like pay it back. And the One Wish Willow's way of doing that is kind of like making him a slave to all these people who are struggling with the wish. And he's kind of the one that has to let them down and be like, there's literally nothing that can be done. But I don't know. That's just my extra thought about it. And additionally, he even says to Nikki, what's so bad about being with me, when she's begging him to kill her. I just think Bear is so crazy because to Nikki asking him to kill her, he literally says, what's so bad about being with me? And she says, you know, I've never been with you, Bear. It's not her. It's a kind of like possessed version of her, I guess. But I don't think that there's any demons or like possessed spirits, I guess, in this movie. I think that there is a different version of Nikki that's keeping her real self like locked away. Like her real self can't come out unless the wish version of Nikki goes to sleep and goes away. And that's why we can see the real Nikki come out sometimes. But she's also actively trying to fight this version of herself that she knows isn't really her, because it's forcing her to be that way. And that's why we see Nikki hitting her head with glass and just hurting herself, because she is trying to get that evil wish version of her out. So I don't really believe the cat died and now Nikki is being possessed by the spirit of the cat. I just think that the cat thing is a larger symbolism in the whole movie, and we can see that throughout the movie. So that's what I'm going to talk about now. So I really feel like the cat is a symbolism by the director for Nikki's loss of autonomy. So I think the cat dying in the beginning does kind of show how irresponsible Bear is for leaving his medication out, or his grandma's medication out. And it also reinforces the idea that Bear is extremely lonely and he will do anything to fight that loneliness, which contributes to his desperation in a way. So right after Bear makes the wish, Nikki says to him in the car, "I did just lose my cat, Bear." And I think that that's actually a symbolism for her saying, you know, I did just lose my autonomy, my life, because of you, basically. So I think that was an intentional choice. I don't think it was supposed to be just something to make the viewer feel uncomfortable and weird. Of course, it does make you feel uncomfortable and weird, but I think that the specific choice for that wording was deliberately made to be Nikki saying, I did just lose my cat, because she just lost her life, basically. And then later on in the movie, we can see that Nikki cooks the cat and then puts it in the sandwich, and she leaves a note to Bear saying, "What's the verdict on cat?" And of course that horrifies Bear. It horrifies the audience because we're like, oh my god, she just cooked the cat. That's crazy. And that is crazy. But I think that there is symbolism in that scene too, because maybe Nikki is trying to say, what's the verdict? Do you regret this decision to take away my autonomy, to take away my choice to live my own life? And especially because it goes along with the Polaroids that she put in his lunch saying, you with a picture of Bear, and then not me with a picture of Nikki. And so that makes me think that maybe it wasn't the possessed version of Nikki, the version where she is overcome by the wish. Maybe it was her true self saying, you know, what's the verdict on your decision that you've made to take my life away? And the last thing about the cat is that I think Nikki does have cat-like reflexes, and she moves kind of in a similar way to a cat, especially when we see her in the bedroom standing in the corner and she's like shuffling around, or when she has the vase and picks it up, or when Bear says, oh, maybe we should just have our own night, maybe we should just sleep in separate rooms for the night. She also has that same type of movement when that happens as well. And I think that's part of the reason that so many people think that she is possessed by the spirit of the cat. But the way that I interpreted it was like, she kind of has these cat-like tendencies, right? And maybe that is supposed to show that Nikki is like a cat. She's not like a dog. She's like a cat, where she can't really be forced into loving someone that's not who she is. The same way as cats. With cats, you can't really make them love you. If they love you, they love you. Sometimes they don't connect with you. Sometimes they don't connect with anyone. Sometimes they're never going to have a person. They can be just independent. And sometimes they will, but you can't force that like you can with dogs. With dogs, you know, most of the time, they just love everyone. They have this like unconditional compassion for people. And cats are great. Don't get me wrong. I have a cat. I love her. But you can't really force a cat into loving you the same way that a dog would love you. So I think it's kind of showing it's an unnatural thing for her. She's like a cat in that way, so she can't be forced into this relationship with Bear, which is also, I think, why we can see Nikki's true, real self coming out in certain points, because she's fighting it so hard, because this is so far away from who she is. So, closing thoughts. I think that Obsession is a great movie. I think that it was done really well, and it was done by people who really care about it, and the acting is incredible. I love Indy Navarrete. Overall, the movie is really good, and I think that it is a cultural phenomenon right now for a great reason. I think it is going to become a cult classic, definitely. I think it has so much so much interesting imagery in it, so many nuances within the film, and just so many important things that it has to say about incel culture, about true love versus obsession. So if you haven't watched it, I recommend you go check it out. If you have watched it, rewatch it and think about the stuff that I said, my little theories and stuff maybe, and look at it through that lens. And let me know in the comments if you guys have any of your own theories, because I would love to hear them. All right. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.